Good morning, children. Today we are moving to second part of chapter 4, Literary Heritage of India. Here we are discussing about medieval literature. As you know, medieval literature means middle age. History we are dividing into three: ancient period, middle age and modern age. So here today's topic is medieval literature or literature during the time of middle age. In this section, in our textbook, the page medieval literature, it is starting from page number 32, continuing through page number 33 and ends in page number 34. Everything in one, under one umbrella. But this section, it is very elaborate section. I have divided each and every paragraph into according to the different topics. So, in the first section, we are discussing about the medieval age in North India and the development of the different languages there. Especially, we are discussing about Sanskrit literature. During the beginning of the medieval age in North India, the language of literature was Sanskrit. So, the great work were composed during this period was in Sanskrit language only. Here, in this age, that is in medieval age, we will see two great works which was written in Kashmiri. First one was Somdev's Katha Sagarida Sagar and the second one is Raj Tarangani written by Kalhana. This is considered as the first historical book of India. From this book, especially Raja Tarangani, it will give a history of Kashmir during that time. It is considered as the first historical book of India. Another famous work of this period is Geet Govinda written by Jaideva. Some places you will see Jaideva and some places you will see Jaideva. Both are same person. This is one of the finest poem in Sanskrit language. Here you can see the picture of this great Sanskrit poet Jaideva of the medieval period. In the next section, we are discussing about Abhavarams. Have you heard about the word Abhavaram? Page number 32, under the heading Medieval Literature, second paragraph, second line. As we have said before, this was the period when the Abhavaram language had started developing into modern Indian languages. What do you mean by Abhavaram? Abhavaram is that those language which did not strictly follow the norms of Sanskrit language. This mainly originated during the medieval era and started developed in modern Indian languages in North India. One of the earliest work in the form of Hindi was Prithviraj Razo by Chand Bhardi. It is about the heroic deeds of Prithviraj Chauhan. Here we will discuss about what was the literary contribution or literature developed in South India during the medieval era. By the time Sanskrit was diminishing, disappearing in the north part of India, it was gaining momentum in South India. Sanskrit and Telugu literature got more encouragement in the reigns of kings of Vijayanagar. Raja Krishnadeva Rai, the great king of Vijayanagar Empire, he himself was expert writer in Telugu and Sanskrit. He wrote a book called Amukta Malya. For some times, Jainism influenced Kannada literature in the south. Now here you will see the works on Jainism in Kannada language. previous section we have seen Kannada और साउथ इंडियन स्टेट्स में संस्कृत डेवलप हो रहा है और साथ में जैनिज्म इज ऑल्सो गेटिंग इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय द कन्नड़ा लिटरेचर. हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट द ट्रायो, द 3 trios of South Indian literature or especially Kannada literature? The famous 3 poets called Pamba, Ponna and Rana, they were known as the trio of early Kannada literature. They have written famous books during that time in Sanskrit. Like Pamba wrote Adi Puran and Vikramarjun Vijayanth. The Ponna wrote Shantipuram. It is explaining the life of 16th Jain Tirthankar. Rana composed 2 books, Ajit Puran and Goda Yudha. At the same time, poet Kamban, he had written or he has composed Ramayana in Tamil language. Other than that, many other famous literary works were also written in Tamil literature. In the next clip, you will be able to see one picture of poet Rana. Now we are going to study about the literary contribution during the Delhi Sultanate, especially the Mughal emperors. The development of Indian languages and composition got a promotion in Delhi Sultanate. 2 forms of Hindi language. There it is written Delhi language, cut Delhi and write Hindi. Hindi language, that is Khadi Boli and Bridge Bhasha. They started writing that 2 languages, 2 type of Hindi were there in the use in writing literature. Many devotional songs, Bhakt songs, were composed in these 2 languages. Moreover, many heroic poems and stories were composed in Rajasthani language, which is similar to Hindi and Gujarati. Continuation of same topic. The heroic works like Alha, Udal and Vishal Dev Raso were popular during that time. That was also written in the Bridge Bhasha. A book called Chandrayan, written by Mulla Dawood, is the oldest book in Awadhi language. However, critical appreciation of the ancient books are still written in Sanskrit language. That means Sanskrit language was still, people were using Sanskrit language. Now, works in Persian language. As you know, the court language of Delhi sultans were Persian. The Persian language was used by the sultans of Delhi. After that, we will see many Persian words came into Indian languages. Many historians emerged during this period. A proper description about the Indian history was done in Persian language by a Turkish writer. Sivaddin Barai wrote the Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, which gives a detailed account of the region of Khilji and Tughlaq kings. Not only that, he has also written a book on political theory called Fatwa-e-Jahangiri. It was written during the time of Jahangir. Continuing with the Persian contribution in India's medieval period, a famous writer of Delhi Sultanate was Amir Khushroo. He was the famous writer. His books are referring even today in history. Amir Khushroo was the most outstanding literary figure of Delhi Sultan. He was a poet, historian, mystic saint, composer of music and several other works he had done in Persian language. He had written many books in uh, Persian language. He also composed verses not only in Persian language, he had composed in many other Indian languages. He wrote a number of bilingual quatrains and verses in Hindi and Persian. What do you mean by bilingual quatrain? Bi means two, lingual language, and quatrain means a group of 4 lines in a poem. So, Amir Khushroo was an expert in the field of writing bilingual quatrains. The two languages in which Amir Khushroo wrote a number of bilingual quatrains and verses are in Hindi, Persian as well as in Arabic also. He was a great scholar and poet of India during the Middle Age, I told you, during the time of Delhi Sultanate. He was considered as an iconic personality in cultural history of the South Asia. He was also a spiritual and mystic disciple of Nizamuddin Auliya of Delhi. He was also known as the voice of India. He took great pride of his being an Indian and praised India as the earthly paradise. Please underline this line. He praised India's flora, fauna, beauty, buildings, knowledge and learning. He strongly believed that in many aspects Hinduism resembled Islamism. There was a similarity between Hinduism and Islamism according to Amir Khushroo. He considered Hindawali, that is the Hindi spoken areas around the region of Delhi, as his mother tongue and composed many verses in Hindi. He also composed many verses in other languages and especially many quatrains and bilingual quatrains and verses in Hindi and Persian. And the healthy tradition started by him continued for centuries after him. He had a good relations between the people of India as well as with the Delhi Sultanate. Here in the picture, in the next clip, you will be able to see the picture of Amir Khushroo. Now come to page number 33, second paragraph. The regional kings gave a great impetus to the regional languages and literature. The kings of the kings, those who were ruling at particular place, they have given importance to the people, those who were writing in regional language also. For example, the Bhakti saints preached in the languages of the people. Bhakti saints also, they were giving preaching in the local language only. Especially Bhojpuri and Awadhi was the major language used during that time. Kabir, as you have studied lot about Kabir. Kabir was one such great Bhakti saint and poet. The works of Kabir are chiefly composed in Sadhu Khadi. Among them, Kabir's Dohas have become a part of folklore. You are familiar with Kabir's Doha, which you are studying in your Hindi and Gujarati. Malik Muhammad Jaisi wrote Padmavat in Awadhi language. At the same time, Tulsidas also wrote Ramacharita in Awadhi. There were many other poets and writers in this language in that period. Besides this language, there were many other languages also in practice in India. For example, Hindi हमने देखा था, Hindi literature, Hindi language and literature had developed. Then Bhojpuri, Awadhi. Now come to Bengal. The Bengali language. In Bengali language, the Ramayana was written by Kritavasa and hundreds of lyrics by a famous poet Chandidas. Here it was written under the patronage of the rulers of that time. The rulers during that time, they had given lots of support to this people. With Saint Chaitanya's, the tradition of writing devotional songs began. Now come to Gujarat. In the language Gujarati, Narsingh Mehta wrote devotional songs in Gujarati. And Namdev and Saint Eknath in Marathi, they have started writing. We have discussed about what happened in Kashmir. In Kashmiri language, Sainul Abdin, he had under the patronage many Sanskrit works like Mahabharata, Rajatarangani were translated into Persian language. So, everywhere literature was getting all type of support from the rulers of that time. You can see the picture of Narsingh Mehta. Now we are going back to southern state, kings of Vijayanagar. As you know, the southern states Vijayanagar, mainly they were writing in Sanskrit and Kannada, and later Telugu, and later they started writing in Tamil also. In the region of kings of Vijayanagar, Sanskrit literature continued to develop. However, this was an important period for the growth of Telugu literature. Raja Krishnadeva Rai, the great king of Vijayanagar Empire, was also a Telugu and Sanskrit writer. This already we have discussed. He had written the book Amukta Malyat. Here you will see the picture, the statue of the great king of Vijayanagar, Raja Krishnadeva Rai. Now again we are going to discuss about the contribution in the field of literature by the Mughal rulers, or what were the developments happened in literature during the Mughal period. As you know, Mughals, they have contributed a great to the development of art and architecture, same way literature in India. The Mughal art and architecture is world famous. As you know, many of our buildings, monuments in Delhi and the nearby places are the best example, especially Taj Mahal of Qutub Minar, all the Red Fort, everything. The Mughals also contributed quite well in literature. The first Mughal ruler was Babur. He was one of the most prominent Turkish poet. He wrote a valuable autobiography, Tuzuki Barbar. In Turkish language, he had written his autobiography, and later this was translated into Persian, and the name was given was Abhavaram. His sister Gulbadan Begum, he had written Humayun Nama. Continuing with the contribution of Mughal period, we will see a next ruler Jahangir. His autobiography is called Tuzuk-e-Jahangiri. Aurangzeb, the next ruler, he was also a great writer. The last Mughal emperor was Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was also a notable Urdu poet. How could we forget the time of Akbar? Hindi literature made significant progress during the time of Akbar. Tulsidas, Surdas, they have all written during this Mughal period. The great poet Keshavadas, he has written on love and separation. Rahim's Dohas, they all are still popular in India. We are continuing with the same topic. Many noteworthy books have written during this period. Abdul Fazal wrote Aini Akbari and Akbarnama. Aini Akbari gives you details about the Indian customs, manners, religion, philosophy, economic condition. and almost all aspect of life in India during the time of Akbar. It is considered as a historical book also because all type of explanations we are getting from that book. Abul Fazl's brother Faizi was a great Persian poet and he had translated many Sanskrit works into Persian. You know, Akbar was having a separate building for helping or for developing the people, those who are interested in literature. One separate department was there. There, people were translating many Sanskrit books into Persian. Many Persian books were translated into Sanskrit. This you will see here as you will see that for example, translation of Sanskrit works like Mahabharata, Ramayana, Atharva Veda, Bhagavad Gita, Panchatantra, they all have translated from Sanskrit into Persian. So you should understand one thing, that great Akbar, he had contributed a great for the development of literature. The greatest contribution or the greatest gift which medieval period had given to India was the birth of Urdu language. The new language soon developed into one of the richest modern Indian languages. At the same time, you will see many poets produced many poems in Urdu language. Not only poem, prose also developed in the early 18th century with the translation of most of the historical works from Sanskrit into Urdu. At the same time, original prose work in Urdu was also written. Muhammad Hussain Azad's Darbari Akbari is one of the best work of Urdu. Here you will get a detailed account or explanation of Akbar's period. How many of you have seen the Urdu language it is written? See, in the next clip you will see the Urdu language, the specimen copy. It is not writing like Hamlogi. We are starting from left to right, but Urdu is writing from right to left. See that? Yes, at the last we are moving to worksheet. Question number 1, page number 35. Answer the following questions in detail. Question number 1, how many Vedas are there in India and which are they? For that, come to page number 3030. Second heading, Ancient Indian Literature. First line, underline, Veda means knowledge. They are 4. Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. फिर ऋग वेद का explanation, साम वेद explanation, यजुर वेद explanation and अथर्व वेद explanation. Till Atharva Veda describes various types of rituals and sanskaras. Okay, clear? Now, answer number 2, write a note on Takshashila Vidyapith that we will discuss up next class. Question number 3, describe medieval literature. For that, whatever I taught you today, that is the answer. Full section medieval literature. From there, you can write main points. Okay. In that way, you can write. That answer is very important. Almost every year, we are getting one question from that question every year. Page number 36. Answer the following questions point wise. Both answer we will discuss in the next class. Question number 3. Answer the following questions in short. Write a note on Yajur Veda. For that, come to page number 3030. Under the heading Ancient Indian Vedas, heading Yajur Veda. Dekha? It is called a Veda of Yajnas. It is composed in both the forms prose and verse. This describes the hymns recited at times of Yajnas the religious practices and rituals. That's the answer. Question number 2. What information is given in Yajurveda? Please cut Yajurveda and write Atharva Veda. What information is given in Atharva Veda? For that, come to page number 3030 under the heading Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda describes various types of rituals and sanskaras. Okay. Now, question number 3. Which philosophical principles have been explained in Srimad Bhagavad Gita? Page number 31 under the heading Brahminical Literature, paragraph number 4, line number 5, last line. The Bhagavad Gita, a part of Mahabharata, expounds the deep philosophical principles. It conveys the message of achieving moksha or salvation through jnana, karma and bhakti. Okay, that is the answer. I hope you are clear with all the sections. Now come to section 4. Answer the following questions selecting the correct option from those given below. Question number 1. Dash is the most important ancient book of Indian literature. Question answer is Rig Veda, option A. Question number 2. In which language is Buddhist literature written? Option A, Pali. Question number 3. Which is the oldest language of Dravidians? Option A, Tamil. Question number 4. Which is the first literary composition of poet Chandar Bardai in the Hindi literature? Option A, Prithviraj Raso. Question number 5. Which is the literary composition of Maharshi Panini? Option A, Ashtadhyay. With this, we completed today's discussion. Complete the notebook with whatever answers I have discussed with you. Now only section 2, question number 1 and 2 and section 1, question number 2 is remaining, that we will discuss in our next class. Start writing the main points also and MCQs, extra MCQs also, 15 extra MCQs. Till then, stay safe, stay at home. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.